A black owner was kicked out of his own store by a racist manager who thought he didn't belong. But when he returned, it wasn't just to reclaim his business. It was to deliver a justice so powerful, it left everyone speechless. Vision Luxury stands like a gleaming monument to success in downtown Chicago. Crystal chandeliers cast prismatic light across polished marble floors, where the wealthy shop for status as much as merchandise. This is a place built on exclusivity, a sanctuary for those who can afford entry into its rarefied air. Miles Richardson moves through the space with quiet confidence. In worn jeans and a simple hoodie, he appears nothing like the millionaire who purchased this entire chain 6 months ago. His eyes scan displays critically, not as a customer, but as an owner tallying inventory and assessing presentation. For a moment, his mind flashes back. Bank managers sliding loan applications back across desks without even reading them, security guards following him through luxury stores, potential investors questioning how a kid from Chicago's South Side could understand premium retail. Each memory fuels the quiet determination that built his empire. Near the watch counter, Bradley Wilson holds court with two elegantly dressed white couples. His perfectly tailored suit and practiced smile project the exact image of Vision Luxury. When he spots Miles approaching the jewelry display, Bradley's smile vanishes, his posture stiffening like a guard dog catching an unfamiliar scent. "Can I help you?" Bradley's voice carries an unmistakable edge as he leaves his wealthy customers to intercept Miles. "Just looking, thanks," Miles responds, examining a display of diamond cufflinks. Bradley positions himself between Miles and the merchandise. "Sir, I think you might be in the wrong store. These pieces start at 5 figures. His voice rises deliberately, ensuring nearby customers hear. "People like you might be more comfortable at one of the department stores in the mall." Miles looks up, his expression calm despite the insult. "I understand the pricing. I'm interested in this collection." Bradley's face hardens. "Listen, we've had theft issues recently. I'm going to have to ask you to leave, unless you can demonstrate you're actually here to purchase something." A black employee steps forward hesitantly. "Mr. Wilson, perhaps I could—" "Get back to your station, Marcus," Bradley snaps without looking away from Miles. "Security." Customers watch in uncomfortable silence as a security guard approaches. Miles could reveal himself, but something deeper holds him back. A lifetime of calculating when to fight and when to observe. Outside on the gleaming sidewalk, Miles stands motionless, staring through the glass at the business he purchased for millions. He pulls out his car keys, the Mercedes-Benz logo catching the sunlight. His grandfather's weathered face flashes through his mind. The proud tailor who lost everything when white business owners refused to sell him supplies and spread rumors about his shop. In his Bentley, Miles sits quietly, not angry, but deeply disappointed. "No matter how far we climb," he thinks, "some people will only ever see the color of our skin. But unlike my grandfather, I have the power to change things." But what happened the next day would shake that store to its very foundation. Miles's penthouse offers a stunning view of Chicago's skyline, but tonight he barely notices it. The marble kitchen island has become a war room where he recounts the day's humiliation to his family. Jessica Richardson's face remains composed, but her eyes burn with the controlled fury of a woman who's fought racial discrimination in courtrooms for 20 years. She taps her manicured nails against her wine glass, a habit from her days arguing before judges. "You could sue the store, which would be ironic since you own it," she says with a bitter smile. "Or you could fire him tomorrow. One call, and it's done." Their daughter Zoe paces the living room, her college sweatshirt and passionate outrage marking the generational difference in her approach. "Fire him? Dad, you need to make an example of him. Post about it online. Show the receipt where you bought the entire chain." Her voice rises with each suggestion. Miles remains quiet, cycling between lingering humiliation and the strategic thinking that built his empire. "It's not that simple," he finally says. This isn't about one man or one incident. The next morning, Miles begins his investigation. Bradley Wilson's personnel file shows a man who climbs corporate ladders with practiced ease, always taking credit, never accepting blame. Financial reports reveal Bradley has claimed responsibility for Vision Luxury's recent profitability spike, though Miles's analysis shows the real heroes were the floor staff, predominantly black and brown employees, who received neither recognition nor promotion. Confidential conversations with staff paint a disturbing picture. Tiana Johnson, a black sales associate with impressive numbers, reveals she's been kept from client-facing roles despite her expertise. I need this job, she confesses, eyes downcast. My mother's medical bills. I can't risk speaking up. Charles Washington, a 65-year-old security guard who's worked there for decades, has witnessed countless instances of discrimination, but fears losing his retirement if he talks. I'm too old to start over, Mr. Richardson, he says, shame evident in his slumped shoulders. Most troubling is Jason Reynolds, the district supervisor who ignored multiple complaints about Bradley's behavior, dismissing them as sensitivity issues. The pattern becomes clear. Black employees relegated to stockrooms and overnight shifts, subtle discouragement of black clientele, hiring practices favoring white applicants, and a culture where racial microaggressions go unchallenged because everyone fears retaliation. At dinner, Zoe challenges her father directly. Your silence protects him, Dad. It's not about protection, Miles replies. Bradley is a symptom. I could remove him tomorrow, but someone just like him would take his place. So, what are you going to do? Jessica asks. I'm still deciding, Miles answers, though the steel in his voice suggests otherwise. The breaking point comes when Miles reviews security footage. In one clip, Bradley instructs new hires. Watch black customers closely, unless they're obviously wealthy. Most are just here to browse what they can't afford. In another, more painful moment, Bradley laughs with another manager. I don't care who signs my checks. This isn't his world, and he doesn't understand our clientele. Vision Luxury means vision for a certain type of customer. Miles shuts off the monitor, his decision made. The plan Miles was about to set in motion wouldn't just change one store or one man's career, it would send ripples through the entire industry. Vision. Luxury falls silent as Miles Richardson strides through the entrance. Gone is yesterday's casual attire, replaced by a bespoke charcoal suit that announces his status before he speaks a word. Employees straighten instinctively, sensing the quiet authority he projects. Bradley Wilson is mid-sentence with a customer when he notices Miles. Recognition dawns slowly, then crashes like a wave as color drains from his face. He excuses himself and approaches with an outstretched hand that Miles doesn't take. Mr. Richardson, I didn't realize. Yesterday was an unfortunate misunderstanding. Bradley's smile wavers. Had I known who you were? That's precisely the problem, Miles interrupts, his voice low and measured. You shouldn't need to know who someone is to treat them with basic respect. Bradley stammers as Miles begins methodically inspecting the store, noting merchandising decisions, staff positioning, and customer interactions with the precision that built his business empire. Over the next 2 days, Miles transforms the manager's office into a confidential meeting space. Employees enter nervously and leave looking lighter, unburdened by secrets finally spoken aloud. The stories form a pattern more troubling than any individual incident. A culture where discrimination has become so normalized, many stopped recognizing it. I've worked here 8 years and never been promoted, one employee confides. Bradley told me I don't have the right look for management. He moves me to the stockroom whenever his friends from the club visit, says another. Meanwhile, Miles's assistant coordinates what's publicly described as a special announcement about the future of Vision Luxury. Invitations go to industry leaders, fashion journalists, competitors, and investors. Behind the scenes, Jessica leverages her connections with civil rights organizations and community leaders to ensure their presence. Word spreads quickly. Former employees reach out with stories of their own. Social media buzzes with speculation. Bradley, noticing the activity, grows increasingly anxious but assumes it's a standard corporate rebranding. This wasn't just about one moment of humiliation or one racist manager. This was about the spaces black people are told we don't belong in, the doors we're told we can't walk through, even when we own the building. The day of the announcement arrives. Vision Luxury's main floor has been transformed, with chairs arranged conference style and a podium bearing the store's logo. Bradley stands near the front, adjusting his tie nervously as the room fills with faces he recognizes from industry magazines and local news. Miles steps to the podium. The camera flashes, illuminating his composed expression. The room quiets. "Thank you all for coming. I'm Miles Richardson, the owner of Vision Luxury." His voice carries without strain. 3 days ago, I walked into this store, my store, wearing jeans and a hoodie. I was escorted out by security after being told, and I quote, "People like you can't afford these items." Murmurs ripple through the audience. All eyes turn to Bradley, whose face contorts between horror and shame. "I could have revealed my identity in that moment," Miles continues. "I could have fired Mr. Wilson on the spot. But that would have addressed only a symptom, not the disease." With measured precision, Miles outlines the discrimination he's uncovered: hiring practices, promotion patterns, customer treatment. He connects his experience to historical patterns in luxury retail, where exclusion has been marketed as exclusivity. "Today, I'm announcing changes that will transform not just this store, but our entire industry approach." Miles unveils his 5-point plan: comprehensive anti-racism training, scholarships for BIPOC students interested in fashion and retail management, diverse hiring initiatives, partnerships with black designers, and the creation of a chief diversity officer position. The crowd applauds, cameras flash, and journalists type furiously on their phones. "And to lead this transformation," Miles continues, "I'm appointing Tiana Johnson as our chief diversity officer, effective immediately." Tiana, seated in the front row, rises with dignified surprise as the audience applauds. "As for Mr. Wilson," Miles turns to face Bradley directly, "I'm offering 2 choices: immediate termination or participation in a year-long program working directly with the communities you've discriminated against, implementing these new initiatives under Ms. Johnson's supervision." The room falls silent, all eyes on Bradley, whose confidence has crumbled into visible panic. "Which will it be, Mr. Wilson? An end or a beginning?" The choice Bradley made next would determine not just his future, but potentially the future of an industry built on exclusion. The room holds its breath as Bradley Wilson stares at the floor, his world collapsing around him. The cameras wait, journalists poised to document his downfall or redemption. Finally, he looks up, swallowing hard. "I'll take the program," he says, his voice barely audible. His expression betrays his true motivation, not remorse but survival instinct. The crowd murmurs. Some are disappointed at being denied a more dramatic conclusion. Miles nods once. Work begins tomorrow. Over the next several weeks, Vision Luxury undergoes a transformation more profound than any remodeling could achieve. The display windows feature designs from diverse creators. Staff demographics shift as employees once hidden in stockrooms take their rightful places on the sales floor. Most striking is the atmosphere, the intimidating exclusivity replaced by welcoming sophistication. For the employees, the change feels like finally breathing after years underwater. In the break room, laughter returns. People share ideas without fear. Tiana Johnson, in her new role as Chief Diversity Officer, implements programs she proposed years ago that Bradley dismissed as not right for our clientele. Community partnerships, expanded size ranges, multilingual services. "I almost quit last year," she confides to Miles during a weekly check-in. "I thought maybe I was the problem. Now I realize the system was designed to make me feel that way." Charles Washington, the security guard who once feared speaking up, helps develop new security protocols based on behavior, not appearance. "Been watching folks get followed around this store for 20 years, he says during a training session. "Never sat right with me, but I needed my job. Now we're doing it right." Bradley's journey proves less straightforward. Initially, he approaches the program with thinly veiled resentment, going through motions to preserve his career. In community meetings, he sits stiffly, defensive when anyone mentions racism. "I've never seen color," he insists during one particularly tense session. "I treat everyone exactly the same." An elderly woman fixes him with a penetrating stare. "Then you're not seeing people at all, young man." Gradually, almost imperceptibly, something shifts. After hearing countless stories of discrimination from people whose humanity he can no longer deny, Bradley's rehearsed responses give way to genuine questions. His transformation isn't dramatic or complete, no epiphany moment, no tearful apology. But there are glimpses of someone beginning to see beyond his privilege. Miles's approach generates ripples beyond Chicago. Fashion publications run features on the Vision Luxury Revolution. Black business owners from across the country reach out, sharing similar experiences and discussing collective responses. Some industry leaders react defensively, calling Miles's actions unnecessarily dramatic or reverse discrimination. Others begin quietly examining their own practices, sensing the shifting cultural landscape. One evening at home, after reading yet another article about the Vision Luxury incident, Miles sits with Jessica and Zoe, contemplating the unexpected journey. "For years I thought success was the best revenge," he admits, swirling his scotch thoughtfully. "Prove them wrong by becoming so successful they can't ignore you. But that doesn't change the system. Sometimes you have to use your power to reshape the game itself." Zoe, home from college for the weekend, leans forward eagerly. "That's what I'm trying to do at school. We've started a student group addressing racism in campus spaces. The way security targets black students in the library. How professors ignore our contributions in discussions." Her eyes shine with purpose. "You showed me that meaningful change requires more than just calling people out." 6 months later, Vision Luxury hosts its first showcase for emerging black designers. The store transforms into a celebration of creativity long overlooked by mainstream fashion. The crowd reflects a diversity rarely seen in luxury retail, wealth in all colors, ages and backgrounds united by appreciation for exceptional design. In one corner, Bradley works alongside Tiana, distributing programs and assisting guests. His demeanor has changed, the arrogant authority replaced by attentive service. He's not transformed into a social justice warrior, but he's learning to listen more than he speaks. As the event winds down, a young black entrepreneur approaches Miles by the champagne table. "I've been following what you did here," he says, "but I've got to ask, do you regret not just firing Bradley and walking away? Wouldn't that have been easier?" Miles considers the question seriously. Firing him would have felt good for a moment, but transformation takes more than removal. It takes reformation. Sometimes the harder path creates more lasting change. 1 year to the day after Miles was escorted from his own store, he stands outside the building, now renamed Vision Inclusive Luxury. A bronze plaque beside the entrance commemorates his grandfather's tailor shop, honoring a legacy of black entrepreneurship once erased, but now celebrated. When have you chosen the harder path of transformation over the easier path of rejection? Share your story in the comments below. As Miles watches, a young black man in jeans and a hoodie approaches the store, hesitating slightly before the entrance, that familiar calculation of whether he'll be welcome inside. Bradley emerges, having spotted him through the window, and greets him with genuine warmth, holding the door open with a respectful, "Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to Vision." Miles nods with quiet satisfaction. True justice isn't just about punishment, but about creating lasting change. And sometimes change comes in ways we never expected, one human interaction at a time.